and still make it back with a load for your babies. Yes? So it's a distance from home in which the benefit of returning with a load of pollen and nectar is greater than the cost. But it ain't so easy necessarily. So we have Bombus bosnienskii, for example, has been measured at 7.2 miles in one direction. That covers a 14-mile diameter that they can forage to from next is honeybees, 4 miles. And now look at your handout again. Most of the bees are smaller than your honey. Did you notice that? Most of the bees are smaller than honeybees. I want to show you something that kind of bothers me. When we look at the foraging range, we get into most of the bees, Selectus farinosus, 1 mile. That's not much compared to 4 miles. 0.31 mile, Selectus rubicundus. Laziglossium, a little tiny one that can't reach across your little fingernail, maybe 50 feet. So if you want Laziglossium to be working in your garden, you got to have bare dirt that's well drained and native flowers within 50 feet of each other, or you outdistance their ability to forage. So large bees have large foraging ranges. Next question coming up. Small bees have small foraging ranges. And tiny bees have tiny foraging. You're getting this. You're getting this. Okay, tiny foraging ranges. Now, let's suppose we got a legitimate bee, and she's got a big load, and she's on the way home carrying that big load, and that's hard work, and she's got halfway home, and she's running out of gas. And all that's between her and home are these long flowers. See those little bite marks? She's no dummy. She goes up to these little flowers, and what she does is bite through down by the nectary. And so she robs the nectar. So she's robbing nectar. She sticks her tongue in there and gasses up, and then she can carry the load on home.
Many more.
Yeah, bee mimics. Now, I've had several questions, and some of you are thinking, well, I'm not sure whether I saw wasps or bees or what. Well, there's lots of things that look just like bees. And in fact, I have been fooled so many times that I don't even try to feel bad anymore about it. When I get something out of my net and it turns out not to be a bee, it's a fly or a wasp or something else. I'm going to show you some mimics. Now there's confusion between, but not limited to, bees and flies. So here we got a fly. We got a fly. It's got 2 wings, and it's got big eyes that almost touch in the center, and it has little skinny antennae. So it's only got 2 wings. It's called a flower fly, also known as a syrphid fly. So one of those terms that you don't need to know. How many wings? 2 wings. But look at this. It's got these little things that are vestigial from wings that might have been there. Those are called halteres. And if you're a mean little kid and you take your fingernail clippers and you clip off the halteres and turn them loose, they go and crash to the ground, because those are their balance organs, and they can't fly straight or level without them. And all the flies have halteres. So we take a look at the head, and we see that they do have extraordinarily large eyes compared to bees. Bees' eyes are half or quarter that size, and we look at the antennae, and on the antennae you see that they don't have the segmented antennae that bees have. So now I'm going to show you some pictures. What do you see in each that proves it's not a bee? 2 wings, don't have antennae that are segmented, and it's got big eyes. Is this a wasp? No. How many wings does it have? 2. Do you see any halteres?
Yes.
Yeah. Big eyes? Yeah. Funny antennae? Yeah. So it's a fly. It just looks like a wasp, so you can catch that in your hand if you were brave enough and sure enough with your diagnosis. I've been surprised. I've done that a few times. I don't do it in groups anymore because I've made a mistake. Okay, this is a curveball. Some of you who are entomologists may recognize I'm throwing you a curve.
It's an ant.
Who said that? Who said that? Did you? How did you know? This lady knows it's an ant. Ants, bees, and wasps are hymenopterans, and they share the same basic physical structure. And the only difference that this ant has from the rest of them is this pedicel in the middle. This is an ant. Most ants have, at some stage in their life, 4 wings and fly just like bees, have segmented antennae. Yeah, the ants and many wasps have much smaller eyes than bees. Bees' eyes would be bigger by about twice than what you see there. And that's another thing that gives it away. Most of the ants have much smaller eyes than bees or wasps. You're a good naturalist. Okay, what kind of bumblebee is this? I'll give you a clue. When I caught it in my net, I knew that it was a bumblebee because it looks exactly like the same color pattern as the bumblebees I'd been catching in that particular meadow. It's a fly. Oh, sorry. Sure enough, there we are. That one pair of wings and funny antennae. It's a fly.
A bumblefly.
Yeah. Isn't that a cool disguise? And how about this? That's a dayfly moth. There's a question. Can you hold that question until we finish up in bees? But there's a whole lot more than those bees. So this is a nascent science. We're just beginning to crack it open, and I get to have the pioneering part of it. And I don't have to be real smart to do it. I just have to observe. So here's the stuff we don't know about native bees. We have yet to learn the exact number of species. I found a new species in Washington myself, and I've just started. And I expect I'll find 2 or 3 more before I'm done. We don't have population baselines. We don't know how many is out there. So if you ask us, are the bees suffering, or do we have them more or less? We don't know because we don't have any baselines. And if we did have baselines, or we do, we don't know whether there's fluctuations in them. We don't have the data yet. We don't have that data. We don't have life histories, so we can't tell you what they need in many cases. We don't know what their habitat requirements are. We don't have a field guide anywhere on the planet. There's no such thing as a field guide. Like the Peterson's Field Guide to bees, or to butterflies, Peterson's Field Guide to birds, all the field guides. I thought there'd be a field guide to bees. There's not. I get to make the first one, and it has to be a local area guide because we got 600 species in Washington. And that's a field guide. You have to have a small boy and a mule to carry out the field. We don't have names on a lot of them. A lot of them. Take a look at this corner of your handout. We take a look at the corner of the handout. Would you, sir, read us the name of that number 1?
Lazio Blossom.
Yes.
Yes.
SP.
SP.
Lazio Blossom Spud. Would you read the name of the second one?
Hylias?
Yeah, Hylias. So why is a spud? This one has Periotes variolobus, and so we've got a genus species name. We only have spud. And we have the same here for Sphacotes. If we take a look at Sphacotes in particular, we got 8 species of Sphacotes in Washington State. And I've got 3 or 4 of them in my collection now. Of those 8 species, 7 of them don't have a name. So if I try to talk to somebody in New York about my Sphacotes, I have to send them a picture with 14 views, magnified, that you see on a microscope, and then he may be able to tell that, yeah, we have those in New York too, or maybe not. We have Sphacotes arboniformis, whatever that is. We have Sphacotes species 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's as good as we can get. And here's what it'll take. It'll take a graduate student working on a PhD program to go to every museum in North America and get all of the Sphacotes specimens, take them to his own home lab, sort them all out, and get all the ones that look like this here, and that's all those in the group, and all of the ones that look like that, and that's a different group. And then define the differences between those groups, and then assign them common or Latin names, and then get it published in a jury journal, and we'll finally have genus species names. We're just getting started in bee biology, and it's hard to even talk about some of the bees now because we don't have names for them. We got 67 species of Lassiglossium, and 20 of them, 19. That's almost a third of them don't have names. We got 10 species, 40% of the Triapiolus in Washington don't have names. 42 species in Nevada, a quarter of them, 10, don't have names. I showed you a mountaintop meadow when we started. That's Mount Stewart in the background. This is close to my home. And I told you it was a balanced biological system, and I've talked to you about native bees in that balanced system. I've talked about a complex interdependence, and I talked about how native bees pollinate meadow flowers, and the meadow flowers provide the food for the native bees in an interdependent manner. Now, before we leave the meadows, I want you to just think about what it is that we look for in the field. We use information in this program and consider and explain the next slide. What's going on? If we got somebody who's just a nut, that's a bumblebee.
Get ready to hit it.
That's, yeah. It's Bombus occidentalis. Why would anybody do that?
Because it's a male.
Because it's a male. And how do you know it's a male? Well, it's got a mustache right here, and look at the hind leg. And so if you know the behavior, and it's a behavior that let me know that this was a male, if you know the behavior and you know the anatomy, in some bees, you can catch them and put them in your hand and be absolutely safe because only females can sting. You guys have been paying attention. So here's the bee watcher's cues that you look at, the clues when you're looking in the field. You look at the anatomy, you look at the color patterns, you look at the behavior, and the behavior will give males away because females are working, they're working, they're working, they're working, and males are looking for the girls. And they'll stop and they'll get a little bit of nectar and then they'll go look for the girls again. So you look at the time of day, what time of day, different bees do different things at different times of the day. You look at the time of year and you only have male bombas at the end of the season. In the early season, only bumblebees out are the females and they're making the hive work and they do all the work. But at the end of the season, that's when you start seeing the male bumblebees. And if you know that the males are the only ones that spend the night in the flower cool, you can go out and pick them off the flower in the morning with impunity. So I've taken you for a little walk in the meadow, and I've tried to add something to what you might see in the meadow. And now I'm ready to take questions.